Let's try to learn 30 words for GRE. Abound. Part of speech, verb. Contextual meaning, to be abundant or plentiful. GRE synonyms, flourish, thrive. Example sentence, the garden abounds with flowers and vegetables. Amorphous. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, lacking a clear shape or definition. GRE synonyms, shapeless, formless. Example sentence, the cloud was amorphous and changed shape constantly. Austere. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, lacking in ornamentation or luxury, often in an attempt to appear simple or unpretentious. GRE synonyms, ascetic, unadorned. Example sentence, the monk lived an austere life in a small cell. Belie. Part of speech, verb. Contextual meaning, to give a false impression, to misrepresent. GRE synonyms, contradict, dissemble. Example sentence, her smile belied her sadness. Capricious. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, changing suddenly and unpredictably, especially in one's moods or behavior. GRE synonyms, whimsical, fickle. Example sentence, the child was capricious and could never make up her mind. Cerebral. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, relating to the brain or intellect. GRE synonyms, mental, intellectual. Example sentence, he had a cerebral approach to problem solving. Congenial. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, pleasant and friendly, easy to get along with. GRE synonyms, amiable, affable. Example sentence, the host was congenial and made everyone feel welcome. Conspicuous. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, easily seen or noticed, attracting attention. GRE synonyms, noticeable, obvious. Example sentence, the error was conspicuous and hard to miss. Cursory. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, done quickly or superficially without attention to detail. GRE synonyms, hasty, perfunctory. Example sentence, the inspector gave the building a cursory examination. Daunting. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, intimidating or overwhelming. GRE synonyms, intimidating, frightening. Example sentence, the mountain climb was daunting, but he was determined to reach the summit. Deify. Part of speech, verb. Contextual meaning, to treat as a god, to worship. GRE synonyms, idolize, exalt. Example sentence, many ancient civilizations deified their rulers. Didactic. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, intended to instruct or educate, often in a moralistic way. GRE synonyms, instructive, educational. Example sentence, the children's book was didactic and taught them about kindness and cooperation. Disseminate. Part of speech, verb. Contextual meaning, to spread information or knowledge widely. GRE synonyms, distribute, propagate. Example sentence, the government disseminated information about the new policy through various media outlets. Feasible. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, capable of being done or achieved, practical. GRE synonyms, possible, doable. Example sentence, building a bridge to the island seemed feasible given the resources available. Flout. Part of speech, verb. Contextual meaning, to show disrespect or disregard for a rule or law. GRE synonyms, violate, defy. Example sentence, he flouted the speed limit and drove recklessly. Homogeneous. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, composed of similar parts or elements. GRE synonyms, composed of similar parts or elements. Example sentence, homogeneous and had a consistent texture. Humdrum. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, monotonous and lacking in excitement. GRE synonyms, dull, boring. Example sentence, the daily routine was humdrum and left her feeling unfulfilled. Insipid. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, lacking in flavor or taste, uninteresting. GRE synonyms, bland, tasteless. Example sentence, the soup was insipid and lacked seasoning. Loquacious. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, tending to talk a lot, especially about trivial things. GRE synonyms, talkative, garrulous. Example sentence, the guest was loquacious and dominated the conversation. Misanthropic. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, disliking or distrusting people in general. GRE synonyms, misanthropical, cynical. Example sentence, he had a misanthropic view of the world and saw people as inherently selfish. Misnomer. Part of speech, noun. Contextual meaning, a mistake in naming a person or thing, an incorrect name. GRE synonyms, error, blunder. Example sentence, the name was a misnomer and did not match the individual's identity. Negligent. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, failing to take proper care or attention, careless. GRE synonyms, inattentive, irresponsible. Example sentence, the driver was negligent and caused an accident. Obsequious. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, overly eager to please or obey, servile. GRE synonyms, submissive, servile. Example sentence, the assistant was obsequious and always did as she was told. Placate. Part of speech, verb. Contextual meaning, to soothe or pacify, to calm down. GRE synonyms, appease, mollify. Example sentence, the teacher tried to placate the angry parents. Proclivity. Part of speech, noun. Contextual meaning, a natural tendency or inclination, a preference. GRE synonyms, tendency, propensity. Example sentence, he had a proclivity for adventure and sought out new experiences. Puerile. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, childish or immature, lacking sophistication. GRE synonyms, juvenile, childish. Example sentence, the humor was puerile and lacked wit. Quixotic. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, idealistic but unrealistic, marked by foolishly impractical romantic notions. GRE synonyms, impractical, visionary. Example sentence, the entrepreneur had a quixotic vision of changing the world through his inventions. Spendthrift. Part of speech, noun. Contextual meaning, a person who spends money foolishly or extravagantly. GRE synonyms, waster, prodigal. Example sentence, she was a spendthrift and blew all her money on frivolous things. Taciturn. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, inclined to be silent, not talkative. GRE synonyms, reserved, reticent. Example sentence, the stranger was taciturn and didn't say much. Wary. Part of speech, adjective. Contextual meaning, cautious and watchful, on guard. GRE synonyms, alert, vigilant. Example sentence, she was wary of the dark alley and walked quickly to avoid danger. Now let's learn the words using a nice story. Once upon a time, there was a young man named Jack who lived in a small village surrounded by lush green forests. Jack was known for his adventurous spirit, and he often went on expeditions in search of new and exciting discoveries. One day, Jack heard about a legendary beast that was said to inhabit the deep, dark forests. The beast was said to be massive, with an amorphous body and eyes that glowed with an otherworldly light. Jack was determined to find the beast and capture it, but many of the villagers warned him of the dangers that lay ahead. The forests were vast and treacherous, and Jack would need to be cautious and wary if he hoped to make it out alive. Despite the warnings, Jack set out on his journey, armed with nothing but a sword and a backpack filled with supplies. The journey was long and grueling, and Jack soon found himself lost in the dense, tangled underbrush. The deeper he went into the forest, the more daunting the task ahead of him became. As he walked, Jack encountered a strange creature that seemed to be made of a homogeneous, insipid mist. The creature spoke in a loquacious, didactic tone, warning Jack of the dangers that lay ahead. Jack, however, was not one to be deterred by mere words, and he pressed on, determined to find the legendary beast. As he continued on his journey, Jack encountered many other strange creatures, each with its own unique personality. Some were capricious and flighty, while others were cerebral and wise. Some were friendly and congenial, while others were misanthropic and hostile. Despite the many challenges he faced, Jack never lost sight of his goal. He was driven by a proclivity for adventure and a quixotic desire to prove himself as the greatest explorer of all time. He spent his days disseminating information about the beasts he encountered, and at night he would retire to his makeshift camp, where he would deify the moon and the stars. In the end, Jack finally found the legendary beast he had been searching for. The beast was massive, with a body that seemed to belie its true nature. It was fierce and powerful, and it would have been a daunting task for any ordinary man. But Jack was no ordinary man. He was brave and determined, and he used his cerebral wit and cunning to placate the beast and capture it. With the beast captured, Jack returned to the village, where he was celebrated as a hero. The villagers were amazed by his bravery, and they were eager to hear about the many strange and wondrous creatures he had encountered on his journey. Jack was a spendthrift with his tales, sharing them with anyone who would listen. And although he was often taciturn, he would always light up with a smile whenever he was recounting his adventures in the deep, dark forests. "You are not satisfied with the story, let's try another one." Once upon a time, there was a young man named Jack who lived in a small town. Jack was known to be quite cerebral and often indulged in deep thoughts and philosophical discussions. Despite his love for the abstract, he was still quite congenial and friendly, which made him a well-liked member of the community. One day, Jack met a young woman named Sarah who was quite the opposite of him. She was known to be quite capricious, changing her mind frequently, but always maintaining an insipid smile. Despite her whims, Jack was drawn to her quixotic nature and was soon smitten by her. Their first date was spent discussing their favorite books and exploring the quaint town they lived in. As they walked, Jack pointed out some of the more conspicuous landmarks and was surprised when Sarah was able to provide a more in-depth and didactic history of each one. Jack was pleasantly surprised by Sarah's intellect and soon realized that she was not as insipid as she appeared to be. As the days passed, Jack and Sarah grew closer, but Sarah's behavior continued to be quite capricious, making Jack wary at times. Despite her unpredictable behavior, Jack was unable to resist her charm and soon found himself deeply in love with her. One day, Jack decided to deify Sarah by planning a special picnic for her. He wanted everything to be perfect, from the homogeneous spread of food to the beautiful, austere location. However, Sarah was not pleased with the austere setting and found the entire experience to be quite daunting. Jack was taken aback by her reaction and felt that she was belittling his efforts. Feeling neglected, Jack began to flout Sarah's opinions and became increasingly loquacious about his disappointment. This, in turn, led to a misanthrope attitude from Sarah, who felt that Jack was being spendthrift with his emotions. The couple soon found themselves in a difficult situation, and their once congenial relationship was on the brink of falling apart. In an effort to placate Sarah, Jack took a more cursory approach to their relationship and focused on being more obsequious. He learned to understand and appreciate Sarah's capricious nature and soon realized that it was a part of what made her so special. Sarah, in turn, became less misanthropic and found solace in Jack's newfound proclivity to understand her. As they spent more time together, Jack and Sarah realized that their love was anything but humdrum. Despite the challenges they faced, they learned to embrace each other's differences and found happiness in their unique bond. They lived happily ever after, and their love continued to abound, spreading joy and inspiration to those around them.